UFC Paris was supposed to be one of the best fight nights of the year. We had 14 fights loaded with ranking implications, loaded with finishers like Jan Cutelaba and Benoit Saint-Denis. We had a fight card featuring people in different weight classes that we knew would go out there and fight for us. And it was a mixed bag. We had a couple of really weird, sketchy decisions that I do not agree with, and we'll talk about those. But we also had some wild, spectacular finishes. We had people like Ziam who couldn't finish his way through a paper bag and got one of the highlight knockouts of the year. Overall, UFC Paris was an okay fight card, but I'm going to recap every single one of those fights for you. My name is Angelo. This is We Want Picks. Let's jump into these fights. Before we talk about the fights, let's talk about the bets. It took 6 weeks. It took 6 full weeks, and the UFC finally got me. My first losing event in 6 weeks. And it sucks because you know how close I was to making money? I was a judge away on the Joanderson Brito fight from this being a winning night instead of a losing night. Instead of losing about a unit, I would have won 0.6 units if that one judge in the freaking Joanderson Brito fight scored that fight consistently. But we'll talk about that fight in a little bit. There were some highlights. I got on Ziam. I bet on him when he was plus money, only a quarter of a unit because I'm a chicken. And if I was a real man, that would have been more money, and we would have made some more money. We beat the Brian Battle line, Ailin Perez, Oumar Sy. That was a spectacular parlay. That should have been the safety parlay from day one. Unfortunately, Ailin Perez, the over 2.5 was in there. Ailin Perez hasn't finished a sandwich, let alone a fist fight. And then she came out, got that choke, and looked great. Overall, we did lose some money on this card, but it's okay because we have UFC 307 right around the corner. It's okay. Because we just won the last 6 weeks, event after event after event. So let's head into UFC 307 with a clear head, some winning bets, and some tools. If you do want to unlock some tools to help you make some money at UFC 307, we have the greatest tool set on the planet. Of course, you're going to get the picks, the bets, the round line leans, the artificial intelligence, but you're also going to get tools like the data analyzer. Go to WeWantPicks.com, click Become a Member. It's freaking $10 for an entire month, and you will unlock this tool. This will give you interactive data. You'll see the charts of the data. You can filter that data. You can say, I want to see this fighter, how many takedowns they get in a decision. How many takedowns do they get in a decision win? That'll populate the graph, and you can click the plot points to have the video pop up, and you can literally watch that fight with your own 2 eyes. You're also going to get the Prop Hunter, curated set of data specifically designed to help you find prop bets. You're going to get the line movement tracker. This is going to give you the opening odds, current odds, win probability, and line movement for every fighter on every card. As I'm sitting here today, all of these tools are up right now with UFC 307 data. Carla Esparza opened as a favorite. She is now a dog. So if you're on the Carla side, this is where the line movement tracker can be very helpful because you can just wait, keep an eye on it, watch that line move, and then ultimately get her at her absolute peak. You're also going to get tools like the DraftKings Optimizer. Every single one of these tools is included, one single package for only freaking $10. WeWantPicks.com. Click Become a Member at the top. UFC 307 is next week, and if you know me, you know I film a vlog for every single pay-per-view. We have people over. We cook spectacular food. We drink some drinks. We watch the fights. You get live reactions and all of it. If you want to send us something, you can, because in those vlogs, we do a mail day. Last time we opened up some used SEX toys because people sent us some troll mail. But if you want to send us something, a letter, a gag gift, anything that you want, We Want Picks, P.O. Box 406, Prosper, Texas, 75078. Let's jump into the fights. We did have an interesting night, and for me, it started off nice. I picked Chris Duncan. I said Chris Duncan is going to win this fight. Bolaji is a little overrated. And while the end result was Big Ange being correct, not quite the path I thought it was going to be, right? Bolaji, my whole point was the guy gets jabbed up. He's a little hittable. Striking defense isn't great. And while Chris Duncan also doesn't have good striking defense, what he does have is a never say die attitude, an unwillingness to back up. And this fight was interesting because Bolaji was piecing Chris Duncan up, absolutely piecing him up. And then for some dumbass reason, Bolaji ducks his head, closes the distance, like leans into him. Doesn't full shoot a takedown, but kind of shoots a takedown. And Chris Duncan just jumps on that neck. Ends up in guard on the ground. And then we're in another weird situation where Chris is squeezing and squeezing and squeezing. And you're watching it. And as somebody who picked Chris Duncan to win and who puts out a video that 20,000 people watch, so I want these picks to be correct so that people have a good time and I don't get angry hate messages. So as that person, I was nervous because I was like, don't squeeze. You're going to blow out your arms. You need to win this with a jab. So he squeezed, and then he lost it. And I was like, shit, he's screwed. Turns out he lost it, and Bolaji was just unconscious on top of him on the mat. Just completely unconscious. So Bolaji choked out 100% cold, right off the rip. Big Ange picked an underdog, and I was like, this is going to be a spectacular night. And then we rolled into this fight. I picked Nora Cornolle. The first three fights of the night, I went dog. I went dog, dog, dog. First dog won. I was like, here we go. Big Ange. Dog catcher. We had Nora Cornolle and Jacqueline Cavalcanti. This was a split decision. And it was an interesting one. And I'll walk you through why. Nora Cornolle won that first round. Without question, won that first round. Closed the distance, got a takedown, got her on the ground, controlled the rest of it, won the round. I think everybody agrees with that. Where it got interesting was the second round. She had a half a takedown. Almost had a takedown. What was happening, though, is Jacqueline Cavalcanti was blasting with a beautiful 1-2. Just boom, 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 boom. And what you're seeing here is Nora Cornolle turning like an asshole, like she's never been in a fist fight before, turning and flinching and not wanting to get hit. And I get it. Nobody wants to get punched in the face. But hey, guess what? It's your job. It's your job. That's like if I'm an accountant and I have a calculator and every time I have to use a calculator, I'm flinching and looking away. This is your job. And part of your job is get punched in the face and don't look like you're afraid of it. Unfortunately for us, Nora Cornolle was afraid of getting punched in the face. But we did get screwed. And Nora should have won this fight, or it at least should have been a draw. If I am an official judge, if I was the judge, jury, and executioner of this fight, if I'm Judge Dredd, and I'm the referee inside the cage, and then I walk my fat ass on the outside, and I'm a judge, and I fill out the scorecard, I take a point away as a referee because Jacqueline Cavalcanti grabbed the fence big time, grabbed the fence on more than one occasion. I think it was two specifically that 100% prevented a takedown. She was getting taken down, grabbed the fence. The referee saw it, told her to stop. Same position. They're still working. Nora, again, has her 90% taken down. She grabs the fence. Referee sees it. Doesn't take a point. She should have taken a point. The commentators agreed. They said the same thing. Felder was like, listen, that's a bad fence grab. It's one thing if it's like kind of casual. It doesn't matter. That fence grab literally changed the course of the rest of the round. And it did. So objectively speaking, I didn't bet on Nora. So this isn't like, ooh, Cope. The Cope comments are such loser simpleton comments, by the way. So this isn't a Cope because I don't give a shit. I didn't bet on this fight. But I would have taken a point away. And I think a point should have been taken away. Because the fence grab was so severe, it literally changed the course of that round. So Nora won the first round. Lost the second round because she wasn't able to get the takedown. You take a point away, you can't really change the position, you can't put her on the ground, all you really do is penalize, take a point away. That's now a 9-9 round. Third round was very, very clear, Jacqueline Cavalcanti, 10-9 there. This should have been a draw. If I'm a judge, I scored a draw. Overall, Nora kind of sucks. But we're in a weird position where I don't think Jacqueline's that good. So this isn't like Nora sucks and Jacqueline's phenomenal. Jacqueline's got a great 1-2. It's a spectacular 1-2. But it looked way better than it actually is in real life because Nora is running in fear, terrified to be punched in the face. So it looks like it's the greatest 1-2 that's ever existed. But it's an okay 1-2. Takedown defense could use some work. Because that first takedown, the first round was pretty easy, and she was going to get taken down in the second round if she didn't grab the fence. I am annoyed at this fight. Cope. I'm coping. Fucking nerd. Then we had another interesting fight. This picture is very deceiving. This picture implies that Victor Altamirano was knocked out, and he wasn't. But he was sat down a few times. But every time he sat down, popped right back. Bang. Popped right back up. He was never like completely out of it, but he gets hit way too much. So we had an interesting fight. Well, Daniel Barez was very similar to Jacqueline Cavalcanti. It was just a spectacular 1-2. That's all it was. Daniel Barez hits fast, hits hard, but it's 1-2, bang, 1-2, bang, 1-2, bang. They're just great 1-2s. And it looked great against Victor because Victor doesn't move his head. So he just bink, bink. His head snaps back big. He gets dropped, but he pops right back up. Daniel Barez won this fight. It was close. And Victor could have squeezed out a decision somehow, but he got dropped in the third because he's just so chinny and he keeps his head up in the air like an idiot. But what was frustrating about this, if you go watch my hot take video, I started off by saying the UFC has been telling fighters not to wrestle. And I provided, examples of people who have come out publicly saying the UFC told me not to wrestle. Now, I don't know if they told Victor Altamirano not to wrestle or not. There's no proof of that. And Victor's not boring. He's not Carl Williams. He's not Muhammad Mokaev. He's not boring. But Victor Altamirano, for context's sake here, had 9 takedowns in his last fight. 9 completed takedowns. Guess how many he had in this fight? I'm waiting. 0. But guess how many he attempted? Okay, maybe Daniel Barr, he attempted 1. He attempted 1 single takedown. So he's coming off the heels of a fight where he had 9 successful takedowns. Comes into this fight, getting blasted with a 1-2, and attempts 1 takedown in 15 minutes. Makes no sense. He's either an absolute idiot with an extra chromosome that they need to test for, or they have the worst game plan in history, or somebody did tell him don't wrestle. But I doubt the UFC told him don't wrestle because he is kind of exciting. And he's not important enough for the UFC to be like, we're not going to sign you if you know. So that was insanely frustrating. And I'm not trying to take away Daniel Barez's flowers. He deserves them. I mean, he came in here and he won a fist fight after a year layoff. So good for him. And he was the favorite. So what was supposed to happen did happen. But I'm just disappointed that Victor didn't seem to try to win this fight. He did have a moment of success in... Look how frustrated I'm coping. A moment of success in the third round. He got, I think it was a spinning back fist, cracks Barez. Barez a little wobble. And we're like, oh, here we go. Barez fades late, which he was fading. Here we go, but it didn't matter. He just got sat in his ass because he leaves his head up in the air like an idiot. Then we had the broken safety parlay. This is Ailin Perez dancing over the broken safety parlay. The safety parlay was over 2.5 rounds in this fight. And it's a funny dynamic because, there's a lot of haters out there, right? One of you right now is more than one is watching this right now. You hate me. You can't stand the way I talk. You can't stand the success of the channel. You can't stand me, anything I represent, or anything about me. But you're watching only so that you can disagree and leave some angry comment. And that's fine. That's the life you want to live. Go for it. And I'm talking about this because it's interesting because anytime the safety parlay loses, there's always a Monday morning quarterback being like, idiot, this should have been the parlay. Well, of course, when you know the results. And anytime I've made a parlay without a women's over 2.5, inevitably, idiot, the over 2.5 on these lady fights was a lock for the safety parlay. Okay? Now I did do an over 2.5 on a couple of lady fights. Take a wild guess what the comments were, what I was getting tagged in on the Discord. Why would you do an over 2.5 on women's fights? Don't ever do an over on women's fights. Same people. 3 weeks ago. Why wouldn't you do? You can't win. Point being, hindsight is 20/20, and every single one of us right now have hindsight. And yes, in hindsight, Ailin Perez is going to get 1 million takedowns. She's going to win this fight, and her opponent is a striker. Ailin Perez might be able to finish her. But that's bullshit. That's bullshit, because that's not true hindsight. All we can do is make the picks and the bets based off the information we had. I had a parlay with Ailin in it, and that parlay crushed. And the over 2.5 made a whole lot of sense because Ailin Perez is not a finisher. When was the last time she finished anybody or anything? She is not a finisher. We've seen her get 20 takedowns in a fight, no finish. We've seen her drop somebody, get a bunch of takedowns, no finish. She is not a finisher. So the over 2.5 here made a lot of sense on paper, especially, and the bet was placed before the weigh-in, so it doesn't really matter, but the weigh-ins just reaffirmed that for me. I had people messaging me after the weigh-ins, because if you didn't know, Ailin Perez missed weight, and not only did she miss weight, she was like shaking, like a drug addict that hasn't gotten her fix, just shaking, walking off the scale. The whole internet was like, this fight's going to get canceled. This fight's going to get canceled. They shouldn't let her fight. This is a safety concern. And when I was getting all the messages saying, should we cash out of Ailin? I was like, no way. If anything, this is better. Slow the pace down. Let it be sloppy as shit back and forth. All we need is, let's do that 12.5 minutes, no problem. Turns out, and I don't know how true this is, Ailin Perez told Michael Bisping it was fake. We missed weight. That's fine. But the shaking, all that was fake. I faked it. It was literally fake. We wanted Darya to think that I was going to get tired. We wanted Darya to think that I was going to be weak and not shoot. So it was fake. I didn't have those issues. I wasn't shaking. It was all fake. Let me know. I'm curious if you think that's true. I think that's bullshit. I don't think that was true at all. Bullshit. I think she was actually shaking. Like, you can shake your arms, like I'm pretend Parkinson's right now, but you can't shake your arms and your legs and walk. Like she did. If that was fake, then she should have been cast in Breaking Bad as the kid with the disease. That wasn't fake. She was shaking for real. And what she was telling Michael Bisping was just some bullshit. And of course she couldn't lose weight. Fat ass. Then we had Taylor Lapilus. Listen, this is going to be a bad take and you guys are going to hate it, and that's just how these recaps go. Taylor Lapilus is slick, but he is a future fade. He's a future fade. Vince Morales should not have had the level of success that he had in this fight. He should not have. And Vince Morales had a good amount of success in this fight. Not in the scorecards, but don't go by the scorecards. Watch the fight. Vince Morales had, was it 2 takedowns? And if it wasn't official, should have been. Vince Morales was able to crack Taylor Lapilus a few times. And Vince Morales is not that good of a striker. So Taylor Lapilus is slick. He did a great job. It's everything that we said he was coming into this fight. And I had him in a parlay, and the parlay hit. It was actually with Ailin. Great. But Taylor Lapilus can be taken down. And if you bring the fight to Taylor, the same way Joanderson Brito brought it to William Gomez, you can beat him. Because Vince Morales was moving forward, but he's not fast. He's not crazy powerful. And we had Taylor Lapilus stepping off, hitting him, looking good. But Vince Morales got him against the cage, got him on the ground real quick. Got him on the ground again a little later. This was short notice. And I thought it was short notice for both of them, but the whole world told me, no. Taylor was always on this card. They just didn't say anything. But it was definitely short notice for Vince Morales. And he had some success. This is a gentleman who was cut from the UFC. He had some success. So while Taylor Lapilus is very slick and he's a good striker, and he's got great footwork, if we get somebody that has no problem walking through fire, that has plenty of cardio and better takedowns than Vince Morales, that person will beat Taylor Lapilus. Then we had a minus 1,000 favorite. Tremendous favorite. Minus 1,000 favorite, Ludovit Klein. And yes, he won. Did he look like a minus 1,000 favorite? No. No, he looked like a minus 250 favorite. This fight was so much closer than it needed to be. He lost a round. He lost a round in this fight. A minus 1,000 favorite lost a round against a guy that has not had a ton of success at this level. And Ludovit Klein did the things that you expected him to do, right? He's short, he's jacked, and he's like, pop, 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 would step in super fast, land a kick, come up to it, pop, pop, pop. And he did all of those things. But he also struggled a little bit with the reach and with the range. And it was funny because the commentators are like, oh, he's always the shorter guy, he doesn't care. Oh, and if you look at the reach, it's actually only a 1-inch reach on the hit. Man, reach means nothing. Reach means nothing. I've said this a million times. Reach only matters if you know how to use it, and very few people know how to use it. It wasn't the reach that was giving Ludovit a hard time. It was the height. Reach means the length of the arms. So if the reach was giving Ludovit a hard time, that means Ludovit would be getting jabbed up, getting hit in the face with an arm. And you can't see this whole frame, but this is like a nice, snappy jab. Pop, pop, pop. That's not what was giving him a hard time. The hard time was that Robert stands so vertical, Ludovit couldn't get to the head because he was just too tall. He was too out of range. So then he went to the wrestling. And when he went to wrestling with Nacio Bahamondes, made it look easy. When he went to the wrestling here, it wasn't as easy. So at the end of the day, Ludovit did win this fight. And it's fine. He's not a killer, though. He is fast. He's powerful. He's not amazing. He's not a killer. He did not look like a minus 1,000 favorite. What Roosevelt Roberts, on the other hand, looked great. He moved to kill Cliff MMA, and he looked absolutely... The improvements that he made were spectacular. I hope they don't cut him. The dude was a plus 800 dog and like won a round and looked decent. I hope they don't cut him, but they might because his success hasn't been great. And here's another interesting take that a lot of you are going to hate. I saw it in the Discord already during this fight. People talk about Oumar. It's not even Sai. I say Sai. It's C. I'm saying Sai anyway. It's hard for me. I can't adjust. I've been saying it for too long. People talk about Oumar Sai. He sucks. Future fade. This guy sucks. Why? Because it was a close fight against the guy that has twice the experience, against a guy that's also his size, against a guy that's well-rounded. Because he didn't finish a dude that was on a 16-fight unbeaten streak in a minute and a half. That's why he sucks. Because I don't think he sucks. He's now 11-0. I do think they need to treat him, though, like he's 5-0. He needs more time. Don't rush him. He is a prospect. We just watched him go to a decision, and he looked good. He looked good. It was a back-and-forth fight, and that's kind of what you want to see with some of these prospects. You want to see him in a little bit of trouble. Is he going to push through? And it looked like he was fading. We got in that second round. It's like, oh, shit, he's slowing down. He's going to get smoked. And then he sucked it up. He moved forward. Then all the gas was there. And he pushed through some adversity. He pushed through some cardio issues. And Oumar Sy looks good. But they need to be giving Oumar Sy the same treatment they're giving Shiwiwi. Give him matchups he can win. Bring him along. Don't blow your wad on this guy because you're going to give him 2 fights and then boom, main event. Look at him. Oh, he finishes people. And he didn't finish here, but he looked pretty good. Especially he started to gain momentum. He's a powerful guy. His striking looked good. The grappling looked good. And what the announcers kept talking about, and I agree, which was pretty crazy, is he has no background in anything. He started straight up MMA. He has no background in any martial art whatsoever, and he's this good. And he just beat a UFC veteran with far more experience than him. Oumar Sy looks good, but please, UFC, don't rush him. Don't ruin this prospect. Look what you did to Vitor Petrino. Look what you did. Vitor Petrino was a sloppy guy that was winning fights off athleticism, and you gave him, yes, an old Anthony Smith, but you gave him a former title contender that still had some life left, and then now, all of a sudden, Vitor Petrino's not the prospect that we all were hoping he would be. Don't do the same thing here. Take your time with Oumar. Build him up. We'll wait. We're doing it with Shiwiwi. And then we had a decision fight. A freaking decision fight. It is 2024. And it's Iwan, not On. But we're going to say On. And Jan Cutelaba won a split decision. That's the life we're living. That's the bizarro world that we are all in right now. Cutelaba's winning split decisions. And this fight sucked. And I don't mean it like it was boring, because it wasn't boring. They were just bombing. It was just haymaker. The third round was boring as shit. The first round, they were just bombing. Second round was like half bomb, half not. When I say the fight sucked, it's like these are not high-level fighters. And that's normally fine if you get a finish, right? If you get a slobber knocker, if you get a slug fight, and it ends by finish, whatever. Throw one or two of those on the card. It's fun to watch. That's why we're all here. It's entertainment. But this was like sloppy, and there wasn't a finish. And it wasn't a war, because there was like very clear success by one fighter. Then very clear success by the other fighter. There was very few like back and forth moments. Like, I don't know what's happening. This is a crazy fight. Cutelaba won this fight because he's just this much more experience at this level. That's the only reason he won this fight. How he wasn't knocked out a few times is actually kind of beyond me. I got to give Erslan some credit. I did not give his takedown defense as much credit as it deserved. His grappling actually looked decent. Takedown defense wasn't horrific. Ivan Erslan can definitely win in the UFC. How the hell Iwan Cutelaba won in the UFC, that's beyond me. I don't know how he's doing it, but honestly, I'm kind of glad, right? Keep him on the roster. He does show up. He does swing for the fences. But the question here, and you can see in the caption, is it the gloves? This was a theory months ago, right? When they first rolled out the new gloves. I think it was for UFC 300. Maybe they announced it at 300. But anyway, when they first rolled out the new gloves, the theory was, hey, there hasn't been like a true standing knockout with the new gloves. And that theory lasted for a while. Like, is it the gloves? And obviously, it can't be the gloves because boxing has gloves twice as big and they have knockouts. It's not the gloves. But it is something because we are all seeing fewer true knockouts. We're seeing TKOs. We're seeing cuts. We're seeing head kick knockouts. But we are seeing far fewer like one-punch, closed fist knockouts. And I don't know, maybe the sport's getting better, or maybe it is somehow the gloves. People can't close their fists all the way. I don't know what it is. But somehow, we have people like Cutelaba going to split decisions in 2024. Then we had one of the most vicious knockouts we've seen this year, maybe of all time. I was on the Firas Ziam side, so I'm happy he won. Unfortunately, that meant that the lock of the week had to lose. And Jacob and I are two different human beings, and we will be heads up sometimes, and sometimes he'll be right, sometimes I'll be right, and we're different people with different opinions. My whole thing was, I think Firas Ziam wins this fight because Matt Frevola is going to come out guns blazing, sloppy as shit, and Firas Ziam's just going to be French. Just be French. Step to the side, bink. Step to the side, bink. And just play that game. But that's not what we got. We got a very exciting Firas Ziam. We got a Firas Ziam that seemed hungry. And I think some of it was because Matt Frevola brought the fight. He was in Firas's face, just bombing away, trying to make something happen. So Firas was in a situation where he's like, well, shit, now I have to fight. I can't just dance around. So lots of credit to Matt Frevola for always being a fun, come forward, fun guy. Fun's like the only word I can keep saying because like that's what he is. He's fun to watch. He's never been in a boring fight. Firas Ziam has only been in boring fights until this one. He was game. When he ended up on top, he's raining down. On his feet, he was more aggressive than usual. Firas Ziam looked good. Firas Ziam was far more aggressive than we've ever seen him. Firas Ziam was far more fun than we've ever seen him. And Firas Ziam landed the most spectacular knee you have ever seen in an exchange in a third round with one of the most brutal knockouts we have seen, especially this year. Go watch the clip. I would put it in here, but the UFC would take this video down so fast that it's not worth it. But Firas Ziam, that knee was insane. And hopefully Matt Frevola is okay because he was down for a very, very, very long time. Then we had another knockout, but this was a jiu-jitsu nerd. This was Gabriel Miranda. It's 2024, and he's trying to pull guard. It's 2024. He's jumping on people, hanging on their neck, wrapping his legs around their body. No, man, no. The sport is so far past that, it's out of control. So far past that. And we've seen him get offensive takedowns before. He took down Benoit Saint-Denis. We've seen the offensive takedowns. So I don't know why he came out here jumping guard, trying to drag Morgan Charriere to the ground because it wasn't going to work. Morgan Charriere looked spectacular. I was very confident in him. I mean, the odds were also confident in him, so it's not like I'm a genius for saying the minus 600 favorite was going to win. But I was very confident he was going to win. I was very confident he was going to win convincingly. This wasn't close. I wasn't worried necessarily about, there might be some weird grappling scramble because we saw Morgan with Chepe Mariscal, who's a very good high-level wrestler. And he defended those takedowns, and he did well in those exchanges. And we knew Morgan had cardio for days. I also thought Gabriel Miranda would have better takedowns than he did. But, I mean, it was like one half-ass attempt, and he's like, forget this. I'm pulling guard. And it was embarrassing. It's embarrassing at this level. You hear me rant about this all the time. This is supposed to be the pinnacle of MMA. This is supposed to be the best fighters on this entire planet. The best fighters on the whole planet. And you can't shoot takedowns? You're pulling guard? It's embarrassing. He didn't full-on butt scoot. We didn't see a full Claudio Puelles. But it's embarrassing. Shoot takedowns like a man. Like a man. Morgan Charriere looked absolutely spectacular. Jacob was talking about it on his live stream, and we talked about it in our joint stream on Monday. I don't know how Morgan has lost 10 fights. He looks spectacular. He looks absolutely spectacular. He looks like a guy that's got 2-3 losses, tops. But you know what? Those 10 losses might be the best thing that ever happened to him because they're in the past, other than the Chepe one, which was just last couple months ago. But they're in the past. He's learned from those experiences, and now he's hitting his own because his striking is good. He's powerful. He's got cardio for days. Offensive wrestling is good. Defensive wrestling is good. Morgan Charriere is the real deal. I'm looking forward to his next fight. Bryan Battle just gets better and better and better. Funniest thing that happened tonight was when Bryan Battle won, he just went full heel. He said, I'm not coming to France and losing to a French guy in a fist fight. I am not losing to a French guy in a fist fight. Basically just telling every man in that building, you're a pussy. That's what that statement means. You're a pussy. I'm not losing to a pussy in a fist fight. That is literally what that statement means, and he said it, and he meant it. But there were moments where he looked like he was going to lose this fist fight. There were moments. His striking is not as good as it needs to be. I'm a big Bryan Battle guy. I have picked 100% of Bryan Battle's UFC fights correct. I have bet on 100% of Bryan Battle's UFC fights. I've bet on every single one of them. And I've hit that bet, including the fight he lost because I bet the other side. Bryan Battle needs to improve that striking because his head was getting snapped back and he was getting touched up a little bit. This was a weird game plan, though, because he did have some success striking, and then he would look to grapple, immediately grabbing the hips, grabbing the waist. But he was getting tossed. He didn't get the takedowns. He was getting tossed, and that's because Kevin Josette is a high-level judo guy. And you're going to grab my waist, and I'm a judo guy, I'm dumping you on your face. And that quite literally happened. He tossed Brian. Brian just face first into the mats. Just skidded across the mat. But Brian Battle has the intangibles. He's a guy that will never quit. He used to be 300 pounds. And now here he is at 185, jacked, without all the crazy loose skin. And I'm getting a little too specific here, but that means he worked his ass off and earned it over time. That's not Ozempic. That's not lap band surgery. That is just hard work and determination. Because you lost the weight at a normal, slow, and steady pace with hard work and determination. That's what we saw in this fight, and that's what we see in every fight. There are holes. He's not the most technical fighter. Kevin Josette was the much better striker in this fight. He was just snappier, more technical. It seemed like his punches were a little more meaningful, but Brian just keeps coming forward, has no quit in him whatsoever, just keeps moving forward, keeps landing, moving forward, landing, knee the body, punch the shoulders, punch the face, knee the body. And it just built up, built up, built up, and ultimately he finished this fight and he looked absolutely great. Is he the most technically sound guy? No. Is he a guy that you can absolutely trust because you know he's working his ass off and he will get better and better? 100% without question. And then we had an absolute fucking joke of a decision. This decision was a fucking joke. It just was. And you can do your cope comments because you bet on this fucking boring French run backwards nerd. If that's your guy, then good for you. Because that's what we got. We got William Gomez quite literally running backwards. Running backwards. And in front of him was a real man trying the fight. A guy moving forward, just bombing, bombing away. For us, for the fans, to be entertaining. And we get this boring dork. Like, I'm a jaguar. A jaguar? Show me a jaguar that runs backwards because it's afraid to engage. This decision was a fucking joke. Let's look at the scorecard. First round was the only round that was like, eh. And that is because Joanderson Brito lost the position. First round comes out. Joanderson Brito, bombing away. Gets Gomez to the ground. Climbing on Gomez. Looking for a submission. Slips. Gomez ends up on top. That's sort of the rest of the round. Halfway through that, Joanderson Brito throws up an armbar. Is it kind of there? Ooh, maybe. The round ends with Joanderson Brito in a tight guillotine. I personally would have scored the first round for Gomez because he was on top the majority of the round. And I'm an old school guy. If you're on top, you're winning. Unless you're like in a bad way, and he wasn't really in a bad way. So first round goes to Gomez. Second round, Joanderson Brito moves forward, has success striking, rips this nerd to the ground, beats his ass. Universal second round. Everybody knows, like the first, somebody scored the first for Joanderson Brito. Anders Olsen. So I got a problem with this fucking idiot. Third round seemed pretty straightforward to me. Third round seemed like a Joanderson Brito round, though. He was moving forward, bombing away. And you're going to look at the stats, and you're going to be like, well, technically, William Gomez landed more. William Gomez was running backwards, like, oh, shit, oh, shit, oh, shit. Running backwards, panic, just whoa, whoa. And yeah, Joanderson Brito missed a ton. He missed a ton. And that's because he's starting here, and he's just bombing, throwing baseballs. He's punching so hard, so wide, so fast. And he's missing like crazy, but he's moving forward. He's trying to finish the fight. When he lands a shot, it is bad. William Gomez landed one meaningful shot. And Joanderson Brito's head went like this. And then he was right back at it. So yeah, you can pull up the stats. Well, shut the fuck up. Fuck you. Fuck the stats. Fuck this decision. That was absolute bullshit. Joanderson Brito won this fight. He won 4.5 minutes of the last round. Then they end up on the ground, and it's like, oh, it's like this is what the judges did. Like, fuck, how are we going to give this to Gomez? Shit. Takedown. Boom. And they were just they were so happy that they were able to give that third round to Gomez. So happy they were able to do that. That was absolute a dog shit decision. And I don't give a fuck Disagree with me, leave your comments. I'm in a mood. You'll probably get banned with some Cope comment. Bye forever, nerd. That was a bullshit decision. And yes, I bet on it. So, coping. It was a bullshit decision, and you know it. If that wasn't in France, if that was in anywhere else in this world, you think William Gomez gets that decision? Of course not. Then we had the co-main event. Turns out Brendan Allen's a jiu-jitsu nerd. Straight up. All hammer. And the caption here, so just for full transparency, I watched the fights. As I'm watching the fights, I'm taking notes. So I remember. You should see my notes for the Gomez fight. So I remember what happened. Because when you watch tape, watching tape is important, but when you watch tape, it doesn't give quite the same effect as when you're watching it live. So I watch tape, but I also have my notes from when watching live. And when I was watching live, Brendan Allen came out, took down Nassourdinov with the very first takedown attempt, controlled that whole first round. Nassourdine had nothing to offer on his back. Nothing. Literally nothing to offer off of his back. I was like, oh shit, Brendan Allen's going to dominate this fight. Started to feel himself with his stupid braids. Comes out in the second round, shoots a sloppy takedown. Nassourdine stuffs the shit out of it. He's got a quarter Nelson, just boom. Stuffing that head. Grinding his face down. Keeping his hips back. Made Brendan Allen look stupid. And it was more of that. The next 2 rounds were that. Brendan taking bad shots, getting his face stuffed in the mat. And I started that whole full transparency piece because what I was going to say is I'm taking the notes while watching these fights, but also this caption where it says jiu-jitsu nerd, this original caption said all hammer, no nail for Brendan Allen. But I put that up halfway through the fight because when Brendan Allen was on top, all hammer looked good. But as soon as things got a little tough, he literally looked like a quitter. His head was getting stuffed. He's getting quarter Nelsoned. He's getting powered down, boom, and he's just flopping on his back like a turtle upside down. Like, all right, fine, you come to me. So I was like, this dude, he can't take a beating. He doesn't know how to get his ass kicked. But then in the third round, he bit down at his mouthpiece and he bombed a little bit. So I was like, all right, he's not soft. He's just a jiu-jitsu nerd. If he can't get it to the ground, he's got nothing to offer. And that's the problem. And it's, it's so funny. Actually, this isn't funny at all. It's just a weird segue I do. In that first round, when Brendan Allen was on top, beating on him, and Brendan Allen was winning that fight, but it was basically with control. Michael Bisping said, Brendan Allen's going to regret not doing more here. And people kind of made noises. He's like, what? I'm just being honest. He's going to regret not doing more here. And honestly, he might. Because yes, he very clearly won that first round. But maybe if he threw some elbow sandwiches, maybe if he made Nassourdine pay, busted his eye up a little bit, maybe if he did the Nassourdine, what Moicano did to Benoit on top, maybe that second round, Nassourdine's not stuffing those takedowns so easily. And maybe the rest of that fight's a little different. So Brendan Allen effectively lost this fight because he didn't do enough with the control. He was playing too safe. He fought this fight like it was 5 rounds. I got the control. Let me get this round. Let me just get the round. Because he wasn't like, bah, bah. He wasn't working his ass off. And it's so funny. You ever see these guys train? I have trained for 20 fucking years. You ever see these guys train? They get the dummy. And it's just like, you do your circuit drills, and you just push it on the face of the dummy. Boom, boom. Over and over and over. Ah, ah, ah. And the coach is yelling, 20 more seconds. Ah, ah, ah. Where was that? All that training. I guarantee one of you could find a clip of Brendan Allen lighting up a throw dummy with elbows on top. Where was that? He blew it. Brendan Allen blew this fight. 100% on him because you saw a flash of what he could do. He got the takedown. He had the control. Nassourdine had nothing off his back. Anybody who could take Nassourdine down could have some success. We saw that years ago when Phil Hawes beat him. If you could take Nassourdine down, you could have a ton of success. Brendan just didn't do enough to do it. And then we had an absolutely defeated Benoit Saint-Denis, a mauled Benoit Saint-Denis. And he just didn't look like himself. And he didn't have a lot of time to look like himself because he threw that sloppy-ass kick. And then Moicano caught the kick, dragged him to the ground, and just made him pay. Renato Moicano fought this fight the way that Brendan Allen should have fought his because Renato Moicano seemed to come into this fight knowing full well, I am not going to F around on my feet with this guy. And if I am lucky enough to get this to the ground, I am going to seize every second of that opportunity, and I'm going to make this worth my while. And that's exactly what he did. He caught a kick. As soon as it got to the ground, he worked. He worked. He worked. He worked. No control. No jiu-jitsu nerdery. Just secured positions, hit him in the face. Secured position, hit him in the face. He's bucking, boom, hit him in the face. And that's what you need to do in those positions. Because when your face looks like this picture is between the first round and the second. Not between the second and the third. Between the first round and the second. And when your face looks like this, it doesn't matter how much heart you have. It doesn't matter how much you want to go out there and fight. It doesn't matter what your skills are. You can't fucking see. You can't see. So good luck. So Brendan Allen did not do this type of damage. And Nasruddin Imavov started the second round just as fresh as the first. No cuts, no bruises, can see. All right, reset. Let's go. It's all right. 5 minutes. Reset. Let's go. Where Benoit, it doesn't matter. His coaches were like, you're at home. This is France. Do it for France. Oui. But he couldn't. He couldn't. His eye is swollen. He couldn't. His face was mangled. He got the shit beat. He couldn't. And that's what it looks like when you seize the opportunity. This is what it looks like when you put in work on somebody after getting the takedown. You know how hard it is to get a takedown in high-level MMA at this point? And you're just going to do nothing with it? Not Moicano. Moicano looked absolutely fantastic. I'm not even a big Moicano fan. And I picked Benoit to beat him because I was like, Moicano's chinny. And if I know anything about Benoit, he's just going to move forward, just bombing away. But he didn't. He did not look like himself. He's a little hesitant, took his time a little bit, threw that stupid lazy kick, and that was his undoing. Benoit made one mistake. That's it. He made one single mistake, and it was that lazy kick. That is the only mistake Benoit made. But he paid the price, and you can see it on his face. Great fight overall. Great fight. And it's all because of Moicano. And good for him. And honestly, he's earned his payday. I hope Renato Moicano gets his payday. Give him Patty. He'll fucking maul Patty. Give him Patty. Give him somebody. I hope he gets his payday because Moicano was like a chinny journeyman who has just been putting it together lately, putting in the time. He was supposed to lose this fight. He didn't. This was great. Good for Moicano. The card ended on a high. Well, a low if you bet on Benoit. And I think a lot of people got cooked. Honestly, I feel like most people got their asses kicked. And you know what? Every now and then that's going to happen. We've been on a wild win streak. Every now and then it's going to happen. But it's okay because UFC 307 is next week. And if you want to unlock the picks, the bets, and the tools for UFC 307, you can do that now. The picks are already up. The bets are up, and they're going to continue to grow as we place them. And the tools are there as well. My recommendation to anybody that becomes a premium member is you sign up, you take a look at the picks and the bets. And if it aligns with what you're thinking, great. If it doesn't align, maybe do a little bit of research. Use the tools. Be like, really? How good is his takedown defense? And then you can go to the data analyzer and you can pull up a fighter. In this example, in this GIF, it's Bilal Muhammad. And I'm basically adjusting the tool to say, let me see how many takedowns Bilal Muhammad gets in decisions. And then I expand it to say decision wins. And the answer is right there, 2.455. And every single one of those dots on the screen are the fights that he was in. And you click the dot and the fight comes up and you can watch the fight. It's very important to do some of your own research. And I know some of you are like, well, that's why I pay. I don't want to have to do research. And that's fine. So we have the picks and we have the bets and we have all that for you as well. You're going to get the prop hunter. You're going to get the DraftKings optimizer, the line movement tracker. You're going to get Artem giving you Dana White Contender Series picks and bets, the artificial intelligence giving you picks, betting systems built around that. And I'm going to give you $50. So you actually don't need to be a premium member. If you're not a premium member, become one. WeWantPicks.com. It's $10. Click become a member on the website. To get the $50, you just need to go to WeWantPicks.com/bets. Use the affiliate link, sign up, make a new account, make a deposit. We send you $50. They're going to pay me. I'm going to pay you. It's affiliate marketing. Guys, thanks so much for the watch. I appreciate it. You can tell I'm a little heated, and that's because it's 6 p.m. So I still have all my... This isn't a 2 a.m. video. This is an Angry Ange at 6 p.m. Thanks for the watch. UFC 307 video will be out tomorrow morning.